Who are the worst fanboys out there when it comes down to trucks? I'm trying to think about it. Who are the worst? Without question, Ford fanboys. They are the worst in the marketplace. Now keep in mind, they don't get paid to be fanboys. It's free. They do it for free, guys. And that's okay because, hey, better for Ford, I guess. I borrowed this beautiful Ford F-150 with the 5-liter Coyote from Ford. It is available for sale. Be sure to ask for Ken. Let's go ahead and check out the window sticker, and I'm going to explain why Ford fanboys are the worst. At the very top is the description with the colors, and then here's a short listing of the standard equipment. Be sure to pause. And then here are all the options. So this does have the 502A equipment group for $7,725. And you guys see right there, 331 rear. And it does have the bed utility. So it has a Pro Access tailgate. Now base price comes in at $63,965. Destination is $1,995 with a total price of $73,725. And then here are the Philly numbers off to the side. Now really quickly, here is a Platinum. How much does this Platinum cost? It costs, base price $75,210. When you add destination, it's $78,220. And this one doesn't have any options on it too, so there's the other thing. Now, if you want to get a Platinum, here's a question. Can you get the 5-liter Coyote? That's a good question. As a matter of fact, what if you want a King Ranch? Can you get the 5-liter Coyote? Now, I will admit, Ram fanboys are probably equally as bad as Ford fanboys. And GM fanboys, they're just loyal. Like I don't think that they're even fanboys. Like they have two to choose from. If you don't want a Chevy, you can go to GMC. If you don't want a GMC, go to Chevy. So they don't have to be loyal to anybody. But when it comes down to it, Ram fanboys did not take it lying down. Ford fanboys definitely did. They took it lying down. When Ford introduced the EcoBoost, it was not a good engine. As a matter of fact, it wasn't reliable. It had issues up until really just a few years ago. I could probably say safely the EcoBoost is probably one of the most reliable engines Ford makes, alongside this 5-liter Coyote. Now obviously the simplicity of this engine is why this is such a big deal. But Ram guys got what was called the Hurricane. And just like Ford, when you're starting off with a new engine, you're going to have issues, right? And the Hurricane isn't perfect yet, but they're working out some of the issues so far. But Ram guys are just loyal to one thing and one thing only: getting what they want. If you want to get a Platinum, or maybe a King Ranch, or what about the Raptor? If you want to get a Raptor, man, there's one literally right there looking at me. There it is. It's a nice looking truck. But yeah, if you want to get any of those trim levels that I just mentioned, you cannot get that 5-liter Coyote. Now, when Ford first started off, the EcoBoost was probably a 40-60 take rate maybe. And then over time it became 50-50, 60-40, 80-90, and now here we are. Most of you guys know that Ram decided to bring back the Hemi for 2026. Now obviously, if you aren't a Ram fanboy, let me fill you in. Tim Kuniskis is the head of the Ram brand now, and they actually listened to their customers. They said, you know, a lot of the Ram guys made a big stink about us taking away the Hemi V8 because a lot of people weren't quite ready for the inline 6 Hurricane engine. Now the only difference is this: Ford did it the right way early on. They still gave you options. They said, hey, if you don't want this EcoBoost engine quite yet, we'll still offer you the 5-liter V8. And Ram decided, man, we kind of just cut our customers out. They just didn't have a choice. They had to get the Hurricane because for 2025, that's all that was available. And Ram took a pretty big hit on their sales numbers by taking away the Hemi so quickly. They didn't give the customer a choice. They just got rid of it. And that's where I think Ford really did it the right way. Now here's what I'll tell you. I still don't agree with what they did, because obviously there's this big push for fuel efficiency. Now, I've done plenty of tests showing you that the 5-liter Coyote and the EcoBoost, which is the 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6, get about the same fuel economy. But the reality was, this is what they were really after: electrifying the Ford F-150. This was the end goal. And this is the main reason why this engine is so far behind. Ford has done little to no updates to this platform. 400 horsepower, 410 pound-feet of torque. Now, it is port and direct injected, but the reality is this engine is technically far behind, because the goal was for it to go away. At some point, maybe by 2030, or even probably sooner than that, you're only going to have an option for the Ford Lightning, possibly just the Power Boost, and then the EcoBoost would be a engine on the chopping block as well, because it's all about the best fuel efficiency. Now, as I said, this engine gets really good fuel economy. I've shown that many of times. You can easily get 20 mpg on the highway depending on where you're driving, but I truly believe when you become a fanboy, that is what really hurts your brand. I'm driving the 5-liter Coyote. This is probably the most 5-liter Coyotes I've ever driven in my life just this year. Now, I started getting into car reviews back in sometime in 2018. Like, I didn't post any videos because I was really bad back then, but 2019, I ripped the Band-Aid off. I started to post some of my videos, okay? And when I really started looking at RVs, we started with like a 28-foot rig, and then somehow, some way we moved up to a 40-foot fifth wheel. I don't know how that happened, but I started looking at Ram trucks, Ford, GM, and I really noticed that, man, Ford does kind of cut your legs off a little bit when it comes down to options for powertrains. You know, and Ford trucks are really nice. I mean, for example, like this truck has dual climate control, heated ventilated seats, huge display. As far as your camera system goes, I mean, I would say the camera systems are pretty decent on these trucks too, right? You have a 12-inch display. They give you a lot of nice information. They have heads-up display. You can get a twin panel roof that you cannot get on the GMC truck. Leather seats, although these are, as they call it, vegan leather. They're a really good truck. You have a workbench here. You have the Pro Access tailgate. I mean, for $73,000 is a lot of money, but this is a great time to buy because there's such a big discount to be had on these trucks. So Ford gives you a really good package. The only problem with Ford is the fanboys. See, Ram guys took a stand for their product. They said, I'm not going to support it if I can't have what I want. The manufacturers kind of, sort of, they definitely did shove EVs down our throats. That's what they tried to do. They tried to shove those things down our throats, regardless of how you look at it. I don't care about politics in this video. I'm just telling you the truth. It's all about truth. If you want lies, then we can lie. Okay, yeah, they didn't. They were just trying to discontinue the V8s quietly because no one was buying them. No, it's not that people weren't buying them. It's because dealerships don't stock them, because reality is they're really available to order, but they're not available for dealers to stock. So I like the V8. It's simple, right? It gets very similar fuel economy to the twin turbo V6, and it has that great low end torque. And the simplicity is why people buy this truck. You have to keep in mind, this 5-liter Coyote is capable of what? With a few internal upgrades, maybe some upgrades to the 10-speed, you can probably get about 1,000 horsepower out of this engine. I mean, if you want reliable power, you could probably get up to 700, maybe 800. I'm not 100% sure, but you could easily get 700 horsepower out of this engine if you wanted to, with just very few upgrades. And so that goes to show you that Ford has given up on the 5-liter Coyote despite what their customers would want. But as I said, if you become a fanboy, see, that's the problem, is fanboys ruin it for everybody. Just like the diesel fanboys. If you're someone that likes to roll coal, trust me when I say this, if it ever becomes available for us to start doing weight loss program, which I doubt it will be, if the first few people start rolling coal, we will be right back to where we started, because that will mess it up for everybody. And when you are loyal to a brand, despite them taking away options, in my humble opinion, if I'm buying a Ford F-150 Platinum, truck is like 90 grand if you get like the, you know, the high equipment group packages. I should have an option to choose whether I want the V8 or not, even if I have to pay for it. But because of how loyal customers are, fanboying, they don't even give you the option. And so this is the biggest issue I see with buying these trucks today, is you're not able to get what you want in the package that you want to buy. And I think that for someone spending 80, 90 grand on the highest trim level, especially a Ford Raptor, I mean, I'm shocked that they did not offer that for 2026. They should have offered the 5-liter Coyote for the Raptors. I'm willing to bet you they would have seen a huge influx of orders, especially with the, you know, high output EcoBoost having so much more horsepower and of course so much more torque. That's not more horsepower, but it's enough to make me almost wonder, should I just get the high output EcoBoost over the 5-liter Coyote? Just saying, just saying. And of course, if you want the Raptor R, you're gonna spend 30, 40,000 on top of an already expensive Raptor. So my thing, and the reason why I'm doing this video, is we should learn from the Ram guys. The Ram guys did it the right way. They decided to stop buying the product because they didn't have the one reason why they bought it, which was the Hemi. And I truly believe that if Ford guys did the same thing, because again, Ford did it the right way. They just little by little, see, it's something you do with your kids, like what the manufacturers do. Like Ford is really smart. They didn't just take away the V8 early on because they couldn't. They would have gone out of business, because this is their bread and butter. They knew that they had to do it little by little. And what they did was they made the V6s so good that a lot of guys started overlooking the V8s. Because think about the aftermarket world. The aftermarket world, I mean, you can probably spend $500 to get so much more out of the EcoBoost compared to probably spending 3 to 5 grand to get about similar performance. You're gonna have to get a lot more upgrades to this engine to equal out what that EcoBoost can do with just maybe $1,500. Maybe. So yeah, the EcoBoost is not a bad engine. I'm not making this video to throw shade at the EcoBoost. I think the EcoBoost is the engine I would buy, simply because they took their foot off the pedal of this 5-liter Coyote. And they were very smart and strategic on how they did it. And I'm telling you, when you're a fanboy and you're loyal too much to a fault where you're not getting paid to be loyal, the manufacturers can exploit that. And you see that with the Ford brand. I'm telling you, being a fanboy is dangerous. And we learned that by what Ford has done with this V8 and how they've introduced the Ford Lightning. And again, the Ford Lightning was hot when it first came out because there was a big push to go EV only. Like a lot of the states were saying, hey, we're only gonna have EVs. So again, hope you guys like the video. I'm gonna show you guys the Payload as I always do. This truck is available. I think that if someone wants a good V8 option, the 5-liter Coyote is my top pick. I did do a video comparing with the 6.2 and it held its own against that engine as well. So yes, I think that this is a really good option for someone if you're in the marketplace for this type of engine. Here's the front gross axle weight rating, 3,750 pounds. The rear is 3,800 pounds. Gross fuel core weight rating is going to be 7,200 pounds. 20 by 8.5 wide wheels. You guys see the axle codes, the L3 for that 331. 1,718 pounds of payload. 35 PSI all the way around for the tires. Hope you guys liked the video. If you didn't notice, this truck does have the standard bed, not the short bed. And you guys saw it had that high equipment group, so it has a lot of nice features. So the rear seats are heated, and that power sliding glass, no camera above, but you do have this, as I always call it for all of them, the gimmicky tailgate. But yeah, this truck's available. Be sure to ask for Ken. See you guys soon.